It takes courage to grow up and become who you really are. Your self-worth is determined by you. Keep your face always towards the sunshine, and shadows will feel behind you. Nothing is impossible. Attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Welcome to another beautiful, fantastic edition of the Morning Matters Arising program. A roadmap to politics with Olatunbosun Alao. Here we'll go into deep details about politics, taking it from the grassroots. Everything you have ever wanted is sitting on the side of here. Every strike begins make me closer to the next home run. I have not failed, and you will never fail. Don't worry about failure, you only have to be right once. For Nigerians to thrive hard, for Nigerians to be an envy to many nations, we need selfless leaders. And I've always been saying it. Leaders that are sacrificial, transparent in what they do. Leaders that believe the masses is their forefront. Leaders that are not tribalistic or bigot. Leaders with God fear. Nothing in life is to be feared, it is only to be understood. Information is power. We need information so as to be updated. For you not to be outdated, we need information. And that is why Matters Arising, a roadmap to politics, is on board. Journey with me this morning again as I take you on a long ride that will explain facts and figures about political matters. Welcome once again this morning. It has been making the rounds across dailies. Let me put it this way, across all the dailies in the nation. What is it that is making the round this morning? Not only this morning, for quite a long time. Talking about the outbreak of cholera. The ripple effects of this outbreak of cholera has caused matters arising in our nation, from our locality, our community, our area. This morning we will be talking about the resurgence of cholera and matters arising. When we talk about the resurgence, we'll talk about the revitalization, the reawakening, the restoration of cholera and matters arising. According to the dailies this morning, now that the cholera epidemic is back on our shores, I hope we'll learn lessons that will last. This is important because this year's epidemic is particularly of greater concern with the World Health Organization, saying present global cholera cases are enormous and it has run out of vaccines. Welcome to Matters Arising, the roadmap to politics. The bone of contention is the outbreak of cholera. And the resurgence of cholera is what we are going to be talking this morning. Let me tell you this morning, the resurgence of cholera and Matters Arising is the one making the rounds across all nations. One of the important role that has been troubling the minds of Nigerians. Cholera. An airborne disease which is contaminated by ingest of dirty water, dirty environments, and it has cost many lives. It has been surfaced in Nigeria. What are those precautions to follow? We have to build our resilience to the extent that we should be able to handle such outbreaks for the first 3 months without looking up to the United Nations for help. And now is the time to permanently build cholera emergency response into our governance structure, just like we did for annual floods and other seasonal ecological hazards. Cholera is directly linked to a dirty environment and poor sanitation. Our politics needs to also teach towards deliveries that are much wash-friendly. It is not today we've been harping on the need for the electorate to vote for politicians willing and able to provide them water, sanitation and hygiene when elected into office. The widespread panic this outbreak has wrought in the minds of the citizens. Matters arising. The voters would realize how their lives are in their own hands and vote accordingly in the next election. Our political leaders do the needful. If they do the needful, we shall use one stone to kill 2 birds. The outbreak of cholera has stalked with us like a leech because we are the open defecation capital to the world. A determined thrust towards ending open defecation will have a direct impact. So far, we have been fortunate enough that the epidemic has never gone out of hand in our nation, Nigeria, just like it did in Zambia few years ago, where a national stadium was used as a containment center. Unequivocally, it should be a priority for our leaders because cholera is tied to poverty. Since the discovery of this bacterium Vibrio cholerae by an internal anatomist by name Filippo Puccini, in 1854, cholera still remains a significant public health problem in many parts of the world. The WHO reports of cholera cases around the globe show a pattern. Developed countries in Europe, Latin America, and the United States managed to eliminate cholera by water and sewage treatment over a century ago, while Africa has been struggling with the infection to date. The escalating levels of poverty, stunted economic development, and inadequate access to basic social needs, such as health services, clean water supply, and improved sanitation continue to regulate the transmission of cholera in Africa. My thinking is that the worsening economic hardship in our land is a culpable factor in this year's cholera outbreak. Matters arising on Erie 96.1 FM, where we go deep into the affairs of politics. The outbreak of cholera in our dear nation, Nigeria. There are a couple of reasons why this year's cholera outbreak is different from that of 2021. The last national epidemic first it started in Lagos, a southern state, while the previous one started in the north in 2021. The first surge was in 6 states with 1,786 reported cases. Bauchi 1,239 cases. Kano 362 cases. Niger 62 cases. Zamfara 55 cases. Kaduna 59 cases. And Plateau 9 cases. And by June 27, 2021, it was in 15 states plus the Federal Capital Territory. Within days, the Federal Capital Territory confirmed the deaths of 7 people from the outbreak. Northern Nigeria, by virtue of its climate, has problems with water supply. In contrast, the present outbreak has a more national spread in its onset, with Lagos, Bayelsa, Zamfara, Abia, Cross River, Bauchi, Delta, Katsina, Igbo, and Nasarawa states featuring prominently on the lists. The Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention, as of Tuesday this week, reported over 1,528 suspected cases in 31 states. The resurgence of cholera outbreak and matters arising, it was on board now. The 2021 cholera outbreak had a notable log of casualties in the camps of internally displaced persons. This is not totally unexpected. With insecurity surging, the IDP camps have become a safe haven for many citizens trooping out from the terrorized hinterlands into the overcrowded encampments. They are run like watertime shelters with little amenities, no running water, no fuel, and no sanitary infrastructure. And in contrast, this year's cholera outbreak is conspicuously recorded in the streets. I see this as a pointer to a troubling reality. The hardship in the country is getting out of hand. Matters arising waits Olatunbosun Alao a roadmap to politics. Do not forget we are live on Facebook, Erie 96.1 FM. Also on YouTube, Erie 96.1 FM. Let's proceed. During its contact tracing, the Lagos State government confirmed that many people in the Etiosa local government area reported drinking contaminated tiger nut beverages. Although some media channels went to town with the half-truth of tiger nut being the culprits, the government later clarified that it took the tiger nut incident as a major dominator in its investigation and contract tracing. This is according to the dailies this morning. And however, what must be noted is that Lagos, an upwardly mobile megacity with no known IDPs, has become an epicenter of sorts in this year's outbreak of cholera. And ordinarily, one would assume, like many media outlets did, that the tiger nut was the primary cause of the contagion, as there is evidence pointing in its direction. When all things are considered, it is better to go with the explanation of a LSG, that there are many possibilities. The singular case of tiger nut drink could just furnish us with the theory to work out. The notion is that poorly prepared food drink is a risk factor. It could be zobo, kunu, soya drink, and so many on. There is always this possibility that in these hard times, when people can eat anything to survive, one could likely eat oneself into the hands of cholera. This is Matters Arising, a roadmap to politics. We need to be on the same page so that we can definitely maintain our status quota. According to the World Health Organization, cholera is an acute diarrheal infection caused by the injection of food or water contaminated with the bacterium Vibrio cholerae. This bacterium is usually found in water or food sources contaminated by feces from a person infected with cholera. It is most likely to be found and spread in places with inadequate water treatments, poor sanitation, and inadequate hygiene. The principal mode of transmission, however, remains injection of contaminated water or food. Now let me stretch it a bit further. The hunger in the land has made people embrace all sorts of food. In popular colloquialism, haute belly. I've heard that Saint citizens now scavenge dustbins for food. Likewise, there is a viral video circulating on social media where a health expert was advising Nigerians to avoid rotting tomatoes, which is now a widely acceptable alternative for the exorbitant fresh ones. Like a plague, because it could actually cause deadly disease. One cannot rule out the possibility of many other types of cholera causing contaminated food aside from food and drink. What makes food contaminated? Nigerians, what makes food contaminated? The world, what makes food contaminated? Africa, what makes food contaminated? Ibadan, what makes food contaminated? It is the water used in preparing it, the hygiene status of the person preparing it, the environment where it is prepared or processed, and lastly, the energy or lack of it. Now, the last factor would look insignificant, in fact, almost irrelevant until you consider the scientific cause of cholera. Now, the bacteria that causes cholera can be destroyed through high temperature during cooking. And this is why experts advise that we make sure that the core temperature of the food reaches at least 75 degrees Celsius. Now, I think our researchers should work to determine the link between energy poverty and a cholera outbreak. Today's economic situation in the country has made it so that not only are families unable to buy what to cook, but when they are able to buy some, they may not be able to purchase the fuel with which to cook them. Electricity is overpriced. Kerosene is exorbitant. Cooking gas is costly. Charcoal and firewood have also followed the inflationary trend. This has brought a situation where the production of basic family snacks and drinks is now outsourced to roadside food vendors, who in turn cut corners to make some profit. Matters are rising. Talking about the resurgence of cholera and matters arising, it is talking about the rejuvenation of the cholera outbreak, the repute effects of cholera to the nation. World Health Organization says the present global cholera cases are enormous and it has run out of vaccines. Therefore, we have to build our resilience to the extent that we should be able to handle such outbreaks for the first 3 months without looking up to the United Nations for help. Government, federal governments, the state governments, the doors within the corridors of power. Are we safe in your hand? Is Nigerian safe in your hand? What are those measures, safety precautions to curb the outbreak of cholera in our nation? What are those pragmatic approach federal governments is doing to curb the outbreak of cholera? A land full of poverty would definitely know no peace. A land full of abject poverty will definitely seek no peace. We want the federal government to intervene. The outbreak of cholera has cost many lives. It has put so many people in danger. The voice of man is the voice of God. We want an open leader. Curb this outbreak of cholera in our nation, Nigeria, so as not to result into many lives, so as not to record casualties. We need to recall, we need to come back home. We need to do the needful. Nigeria is a great nation whereby people envy us as a nation. Truly, Nigeria, we hail thee. We need our leaders to do the needful. The unction to function better, God has bestowed it upon our leaders. I beseech the government to please put so many things in place to curb this outbreak of cholera. An official appointed to oversee public hygiene and health should be considered. We do hear that back then, but why not now anymore? For the prevention and control of disease from spreading in the community, in the nation, a competent, qualified sanitary inspector, popularly known as public health inspector, should be considered. They should initiate the proper implementation of environmental sanitation, making their rules with regard to the health of the nation indispensable. Do you agree with me? To curb this cholera outbreak, we need an officials to be appointed to oversee public hygiene and health. Those we call sanitary inspectors. We are one nation, we are big Nigeria. Let's eradicate poverty in our land. Let's ameliorate dirtiness in our land. The young shall truly grow. Government, help us to grow. Let's build this nation with one love and promote peace. So that we will be free from this deadly disease called cholera. Still talking about the resurgence of cholera and matters arising. According to dailies this morning, it's Saturday, beautiful Saturday morning. Jigawa state government moves to avert cholera outbreak. It has affected many nations, many states. Talking about Jigawa planning to avert cholera outbreak. The Jigawa state government has threatened a disease surveillance mechanism and public enlightenment efforts to prevent the spread of disease in the states because they know the outcome, they know the implementation. Yeah, Abdullahi Kaniwa, the Commissioner for Health, State's Commissioner, says cholera outbreak in several states of Nigeria, including neighboring Kano states. He explained the outbreak have been a recurring issue in the state, especially during the early raining season. He stated due to concerted efforts by the state government, national primary health care and donor partners, the occurrence and impact of the disease have been effectively controlled over by the past 2 years with no reported cases of cholera in the state. Currently, they said they've activated disease surveillance mechanisms across 287 political wards in the 27 local government areas of the state to prevent any potential outbreaks. They've also launched public campaigns to raise awareness and promote proactive measures within communities, focusing on personal and environmental hygiene and avoiding the composition of unsafe water. And that is Jigawa State. Jigawa moves to avert cholera outbreak. The Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Mohammed Patti, Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Mohammed, says the federal government has mobilized resources to contain the spread of cholera in the country. He said a technical working group was established through the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, to support states in reducing disease transmission. He said they've anticipated the seasonal outbreaks a month ago. The president approved contingency financing for the NCDC And that is what has been used so far, in addition to technical financing. 31 states are affected, 107 local governments are affected. About 1,005 cholera cases have been recorded so far in the country. The health minister assured Nigerians that the cholera outbreak would be curbed. Is that an assurance? Why can't we fight on our own to stop this outbreak of cholera? Number one thing, Nigerians, masses, we need to deal with open defecation so that the feces will not come in contact with food and water. Let me tell you, the cholera outbreak is a part of a global phenomenon. Cholera is a public health crisis and a disease that comes through contamination of food, water, poor sanitation, and developmental challenges. Where it concerns the masses is make sure you know what you eat, what you drink. Make sure it's clean and safe. While the federal government needs to come to the aid of Nigerians by fulfilling their promises, the developmental challenges and the deficit in infrastructure, we call on the federal government. Those basic social amenities that will promote peace, health, cleanliness in the nation and the environment. And at time, the federal government do the needful. Those in the corridors of power do the needful. It is matters arising. We call on those in the hems of fears and the power in political cycle. We won't suffer. Free us from this bondage. Let's be free from this disease. Grant us a clean home, a clean state, to eradicate death in our environments. Masses only live by what they see, by what they have, by what they feed on. We can't do it alone. And that is why we put you in place. That is why we exercise our franchise by voting for you. The resurgence of cholera and matters arising on Erie 96.1 FM. I categorically call on the government to approach and prevent infectious disease in the country. To see less and less of this issue in years to come. To improve the physical infrastructure, the urbanization, and the utilities that are backing up. We should begin to see healthier populations. Nigeria is a big nation. Let me open the phone line. Let's have a contribution to the cholera outbreak. The resurgence of cholera outbreak in our nation. What do you think the federal government can do to curb this disease? What do you think we can also do as a nation to curb this disease? What do you think masses should do to curb this cholera outbreak? It is Erie 96.1 FM. And the number to call to be a particular 090 56 96 9961. 09056 96 9961. What do you think the government can do to curb this cholera outbreak in our nation? To avoid death record, What are those preventive measures we need to put in place? We are live and direct on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Do well to like, comment, and share what you're watching right now. 09056969961. Hello? 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 We lost that call.
Completed due to insufficient credit.
I need all hands on deck with me, please, this morning. When we're talking about trending issues, we need all hands on deck. A message trooped in from Lanlate. Lanlate. It says the federal government should please help the nation. We are dying. We won't die. 09056969961 is the number to call before I leave the studio. Talking about the resurgence of cholera outbreak. It has been compartmentalized into different segments. When we talk about resurgence, we talk about the revivification, the revival, the rejuvenation, the reawakening, the resurrection, the new birth, the renaissance of cholera outbreak. Many Nigerians are suffering. Where do you want the government's intervention in the development of your own local area, in the development of your community to avert loss of lives and property? Where exactly do you want the government to intervene through this cholera outbreak? Miriam from Odejai says cholera is a deadly disease. We need to avert it through all these measures. Well, let me let you know, federal government says they are deploying contingency resources for this cholera outbreak, according to Alipat. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Where are you calling from?
You are having a good program this morning.
Thank you so very much.
That has to do with the cholera outbreak.
Yes, talking about the outbreak of cholera in our nation, Nigeria.
I would just love to contribute to the program this morning. The way we, the masses, can use in curbing the spread of this cholera outbreak. I can still remember quite vividly that those days, sanitary inspectors, the Yoruba will call it wole wole, they usually go from one house to the other, one community to another community. And we can quite all right witness it those days that when the sanitary inspectors come to your house, they will have to know the source of water people there are drinking. They would love to know where they cook and where their toilet is. Those days, when people in the neighborhood or in the community or in a house discover that the sanitary inspectors are coming to their area, you see them, they will start to keep everything neat. And those days, years of the sanitary inspectors coming to inspect their house is deep down there in the mind of the people. So every day, they make sure they have a good and clean environment. Not this day, the diverse is the case.
The diverse is the case.
Go to some houses. some buildings in some states, even in our state, they are not having convenience, no toilet, nothing. And you discover that these are the situations of people that will go to the nearby uncompleted buildings, even in their own compound. You see, it is then that you now discover that they begin to throw this their deviation from one house to another house. And this thing is causing a lot of havoc, a lot of problems to we the citizens. That's one. Let's talk about the food hygiene.
The food hygiene.
Look at the food hygiene.
The food hygiene.
Look at what we are taking these days. Go to the street there and see what people are selling. Do you know where those food are being cooked? Not only that, we are made to understand that what actually causes this cholera from the Lagos State government. We understand that they said it was taking a type of drink, something not drink, or what do they call it?
Tiger Nord.
Tiger, thank you. Now you can now discover now, go to some area, you see all these people hawking one product from one place to the other. There are some that even hawking entire product. And there are some, they'll mix something in the bottle, make it cold, and people begin to buy these things. And these are part of what is causing this cholera. I think on the part of the government, I'm not saying they're not doing well, but I still believe that they should intensify on their efforts. Let them put the inspectors, the sanitary inspectors in the town. Let them go from office to office, community to community, even in our streets. Look at the type of goods, things that people are taking in, the food, the things that these workers are hawking in the streets. These are a lot of things that can easily cause cholera. Go to some houses, look at butchers, look at where they throw their waste. These are part of things that can easily cause cholera. Yoruba says, "Ilera loro."
Health is wealth.
Mototo boriaro, poye timborioro. Prevention is better than cure. When we refuse to take the necessary measures to be clean concerning our environment and the health, the end result is this cholera thing we are talking about. I pray we should not hear something like that in Oyo State. But the fact still remains an unclean environment, unclean body, unclean drinks and foods. These are the source of cholera. The source of cholera. Now, on the part of the government, I think the government should intensify their efforts on what they need to provide for the nation. The primary function of the government is to take care of their citizens, health-wise, not only health. Thank God for what you have been giving to us this morning. I was following in total, and I see you did marvelously well.
Thank you so very much.
Concerning the aspect of the government, I think the government should look for a way out of taking Nigeria out of our present predicament that has to do with this problem we are facing on the aspect of our economy that is seriously affecting the food and some other essential things we need in life. You know, when there is no money to buy good food, no money to have good eggs, these are the results, these are the end results of what happened. On the part of the government, I believe they are trying, but they need to put more effort. They need to put more effort. When we are talking of what we take in, the food and what we drink, go to other developed countries. The aspect of food is compulsory, and the government have to take this as a responsibility that food easily got to the table of every citizen in Nigeria. Look at where people are looking for money to have good food. Look at the amount they sell tomatoes, sell the pepper in the market. Look at what is happening to our rice, our maize, and some other things. When people are not having enough money to get what they need to get, They will
They
not
will go
decide to
for
eat
what they see.
and at the end run, this is the result.
The result.
This is the result. I really appreciate you for this program this morning.
I'm so honored.
And I believe people out there are listening to this program.
We believe.
You have done marvelously well. And I pray that God will continue to empower and to enrich your knowledge.
Amen.
I give respect and regard to that radio station. They are doing well.
This is
My regards to the staff and to the founder of the station. We do really enjoy this program, Master Rising, this morning. Please keep it up. Please keep it up. On the issue of the cholera outbreak, what else? I think we need to put things together. The government and we, the citizens of the nation, we need to work hand in hand so that this thing will not take lives. The NCDC made us to understand that some people have even lost their life. But in order to stop it, we need to do the necessary thing at the necessary time. Everybody listening to this program this morning, let them go and take care of their environment, their health, what they eat, what they drink, and make every aspect, every area of where they are staying clean. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for that valuable insight, your contribution on this program this morning. That is a true patriotic Nigerians talking in response to the welfareism of Nigerians. NCDC activates emergency center as Nigerian records 53 cholera deaths. What do we do to avert this deadly disease? 09056969961. 23 minutes gone past 10 in the studio of Erie 96.1 FM. And I am Olatunbosun Alao, the anchorman. Matters arising. Something was highly stated by my last caller, talking about an official public health service, which we popularly known as a sanitary inspector. Back then, we do have sanitary inspectors. I believe when these are appointed to oversee public hygiene and health, the loss of lives and property will be reduced. For the prevention and control of disease from spreading in our locality, let's initiate this proper implementation of environmental sanitation. Make our environment clean. Take the clean water. Avoid contaminated food. Not all what you see you take. Nigerians, we are one nation. We are the giants of Africa. Federal government, please, for Christ's sake, you're doing well. Good morning.
Hello, good morning again.
Good morning again.
I think I'm putting this program into this morning.
Thank you so very much.
And I can still remember quite vividly that one of our dailies, precisely, on that was on Monday.
Okay.
I read about something that has to do with cholera outbreak, where the FG, the federal government, is calling on Nigerians to avoid some sort of locally made drinks. They mentioned then that when we are taking all these locally made drinks, we should make sure that they are being prepared in a clean environment. It also urged the public to be more vigilant and imbibe good sanitation and hygiene practices at home and in their workplace. I called the Minister of State for Environment, Izia Talako. He gave that directive in a statement on Monday in Abuja.
Okay.
Talako further tasked all and sundry with preventive measures such as keeping their environment clean, always, and the disposing of waste properly at the designated places. He said, ensure the use of clean and safe water. Water from suspicious sources should be well boiled or treated. He said it by having one pack of chlorine solution. Apart locally prepared drinks, he made mention of Kono, Sobo, Fura, and so
on.
No, Cocoa. But he said we should make sure they are well prepared with good hygiene before taking them. Wash your hands regularly with soap under running water, especially after using the toilet. Cleaning a child who has gone to the toilet before preparing food, before and after eating, and after playing with animals, he said. He also called on states and local governments to increase environmental health surveillance in places where food and drinks are sold nationwide. These places include markets, garages, schools, restaurants, stadiums, religious and sporting events, venues. All this I'm saying, I think I read it in the Punch paper. That was on Monday, where the federal government has called on Nigerians to avoid some locally prepared drinks and food that are not properly prepared with good hygiene. You see, I love this session so this morning.
Oh, thank you.
If others are listening this morning, this is one of the critical things we need to quickly take care of. When you have a good health, you will be able to live long. And with good health, you'll be able to go to a place of work, practice what you are doing for a living. Even the government itself, with good health, they will be able to do what we expect them to do. So this is very, very important. You have a good program this morning. Thank you once again. I love this station. God bless you.
Thank you so very much. Let me remind you, 53 deaths, 1,528 cases recorded in 2024 according to NCDC cholera outbreak. At this point in time, I will need to draw the lines of the curtain. The resurgence of cholera outbreak is the matter arising onto this program. And I hope each and everyone has taken their own safety precaution in tackling this deadly disease. We urge the federal government, we beseech them to put all eyes on tab, keep surveillance on what could avert this cholera outbreak. Nigerians also prevent yourself from this dirtiness, from this contaminated water, food. Let's watch what we eat, what we drink. I am Olatunbosun Alao. For updates, you can call me on 081 60 61 46 67. For updates, 081 60 61